One thing I want to put out to the audience is to know that nobody should destroy the mind for a pay or for something money worth, right? And when you look at our workspaces, they're more or less like fire. You know,
Thank
fire
you.
can cook you food, it can warm your water, but it can also burn. And the
Mhm.
same thing happens in our workplaces. And we know what happens in our workplaces is a ripple effect upon what happens in our homes, in our families. Now, often in time, we get these mental disorders in our workplaces because one, we do not know where we fall. I'll
Mhm.
ask you, how many sides does a coin have? An average human being will say two sides. I think you're
Yeah.
thinking about it, but it's
Yeah.
not. There are three sides. We have
Really?
the ridge that has those small,
Oh
small
yeah, oh
lines.
yeah.
Now, in the game of life, when it comes to our workspaces and our mental health, we need to know that who flips the coin? The coin cannot flip itself. Now, it's you and me to flip it. And when you flip it, the two sides, the first side is to know that it is my fault,
Oh, taking accountability.
taking accountability of what of your acts and omissions, what you were
Mm.
supposed to do and what you did not do. Now, when you try to understand that it was my fault, what are you doing? You're halfway solving the puzzle.
You know the problem there?
Mhm.
That many of us are like quick to say, it was him that pushed me to this point.
Yes, because we want to point pictures,
Mm.
point fingers, but not looking at ourselves.
Yeah.
And that is the second side of the coin. It's not my fault. That many of us
Mm.
tend to work with based because we don't want to take full responsibility. Now, when you know you are the underscore or you're the foundation or you are the flipper of that coin to both sides, now you start to understand what really is happening in my workspace. You don't have control over how your boss will come back to work, the mood they're in. You don't have
Yeah.
control on how they will respond. You don't have control over so many things. But I love Viktor Frankl's book. I think people should go out and read it. It's Man's Search for Meaning. He says
Mm.
there is a big difference between stimuli and response. In your
Okay.
in your power lies the power not to change circumstances, but to change who you are. A simple example is COVID. COVID came. Did we have power to change it? No. We changed who we are. The same thing in life. You don't have power to control how I respond, but you have power to control how you react based on how I respond.
Oh.
Right? Your boss comes to you, they're shouting at you, you know you don't have power over it. Then what can you do? Are you going to shout back? When you shout back, you're creating more friction. And when there's friction, it goes on and over again. Now, the best way is to listen.
Hmm. Okay.
Listen in. As you're listening in, you're trying to validate, is it my problem or it's his problem? If it's his problem, thank you. Go solve your problem. If it's my problem, then what can I do to be better? Now, that is where toxic work environments come in. It may
Mm.
be with your boss, it may be with your immediate employer or immediate colleague.
Mm.
Why? Because we have the comparison effect. Then we have the envy effect. You know, I know you're going to get promoted, so I go behind, I start talking ill about you, and you get to know it. But what
Mm.
is there for you? You know, the biggest, I think the biggest power we have as human beings is to decide how to think and how to direct our emotions. Now, once you know that, everything you hear, you have the power either to water it, fertilize it so that it can grow, or you have power to just cut off the roots so that it cannot grow and not outside but inside of you. The way we are treated at our work affects the way we relate with ourselves and the way we relate with the people that we come in charge of. So, as employees, as employers, one thing we need to know is that it's fire. It has the
Mm.
good side and the bad side. But the best advice I can give to all employees and employers, the first one is to be open minded. Don't point fingers unless you know or you have the whole information. The second, you need to learn how to listen. Somebody once
Yeah.
said that many of us don't listen. We listen to either contribute, criticize, analyze, and judge. And
Yes.
once you're doing that, you're not listening. So anything I'll be telling to you, you're just waiting for me to stop and you're like, jump in and contribute. Now you lose my emotional beat. And once you lose the emotional beat, you're going to think logically, and the decisions that you're going to make are going to be logic. And logic makes us more sick.
Oh,
Yes,
does it?
it does.
Mm.
But when we think with our hearts, where compassion is, that's when you lean in and understand the person. So we need to be very cognizant that where we work affects our way of being
Mm.
and affects the way we relate with other people. So it's very important. And we don't talk about this.
I think most people, when they think about workplaces, they just think about it as a place where we clock in, we make our money, then we get out.
Yeah, but if you say you clock in and make your money, for me, it tells me something. You're just surviving. but you're not living.
You're not even thriving
You're
at
not
that
even
place.
thriving. Now, once you are surviving and not thriving, it shows me you're in fight and flight. That's when you get stressed, you get depression, anxiety, because you're always looking at one thing. When is the paycheck coming in? That's why we get
End of
excited
the
on
month.
Friday and get depressed on Monday.
People, it's called working for the weekend.
Working for the weekend.
When I saw
Indeed.
that, by the way, I was like, also working for the weekend because I don't like it. But you mentioned something very important, which is mental distress. And I know that for the average Ugandan, many times we wait until something is so serious that we can no longer avoid it. Sometimes some people wait until they have to see a psychiatrist, a therapist, like it has gotten that bad that other people around them can even tell, man, you might be needing some help.
Yeah.
Maybe see someone. So, how do you recognize early signs of mental distress?
Now, the first thing is that we very well know that you can't change what you do not know.
Mhm.
The first is to get to know.
Mm,
Maybe you can get to know through self awareness,
yeah.
getting to know yourself. Maybe I was this person who would read a book in a week. And of late, I don't have even interest in reading no more.
Yeah.
Maybe I was this person who loved to go out on a Saturday or go to the beach or go to the forest or sit around with my friends. But of late, I'm no longer doing it. Maybe I'm this person who loves to be with people, around people. I'm this funny guy who meets everybody and make them laugh. And of late, I'm not doing neither of those. That's the
Mm,
first sign. Get to evaluate yourself and like, wait a minute. I'm no longer doing the things that I used to do. Where did I go wrong? The second, you can be told by your peers and friends and family members. They look at you and they're like, wait a minute. Of late, you're isolating yourself. You're not talking. You're not doing what.
yeah.
You have changed. What's wrong? It takes you back to have that introspective thinking and trying to get to know yourself. And finally, the third is that some of the symptoms range in, especially women, eating.
Oh,
You find that now you've developed a appetite of sweet things. You're doing a lot of cake, a lot of ice cream, a lot of,
really?
just, yes, because those sweet things give you dopamine. They make you feel good. And the feel good is what you're trying to get, running from something. So you do it over and over again. That's why many people who are stressed, depressed, tend to put on
Tend to
weight.
gain weight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially the women.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So when you look at those three, it's the beginning to stop and ask yourself, wait a minute, what's up? Right?
Mm,
And now, once you start WhatsApp, it will take us to something quite different in the steps. I know we shall talk about them later. I don't want to preempt the conversation. But after you've understood that actually I'm doing things that I'm no longer doing things that I used to do, and I've developed new habits of which
mm,
even I don't know how they came into play. Because in that state, what happens? The body takes control. That's why
mm.
we have addictions. Addictions simply means your brain and your heart are no longer in charge because it starts with the thought. The thought creates the experience creates the action pushes the body.
That's why somebody says that I can't control this.
Yes, they can't because it's no longer,
Mm.
they no longer have power. Now the body acts without the consent of the brain and the
Uh-huh.
heart.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I get it. I have to be honest. That thing you've explained it so well because sometimes you hear people say that I'm trying to stop it, but I failed.
Yeah.
So as we talk about the early signs of mental distress, you mentioned something very key, which is to first do some. There are things that you must notice yourself. There
Yes.
are things that means when you start seeing that your routine has changed, picked up some new traits. That comes from a point of awareness that you've actually sat down and said, there's some things I'm not doing right. So, what is the role of self awareness in maintaining mental wellness?
I said my name is Gardner, and I
Mm,
come from a family where my dad is a very good commercial farmer, and
okay.
I look at him as a gardener.
Mm,
Now, when you look at a gardener, is a person who takes care of his crops or his land. And that is more or less of what we're supposed to do when it comes to self-awareness. Do you know which plants you have grown? Do you know approximately the season you'll be harvested? But as you plant, you know weeds will come, bad weathers will come, but all those are just temporary. Your role is to prune what is not you. We talked about social media and how it has made us lose sight of who we are.
mm,
Now, self-awareness helps me to ground myself to know who I am. And I can't just know who I am as one spark of a day. It is a continuous lifestyle.
oh,
To
yeah.
keep checking in, asking yourself, how am I feeling? How am I
Mm,
thinking? Why am I thinking the way I'm thinking? Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? Now that takes you to the second step. You start to recognize the triggers. Human beings live crews and we work in patterns. Because where you passed coming here today, I'm very positive you've been using that same route for the last month or even year.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're predictable. If I get to know your routes, I can know when you pass by and I'll meet you at any one point in time. So we live crews. Now you understand your patterns, you understand your triggers, then go back and ask yourself what happens. I have a group of people that I've worked with. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychotherapist, I'm not nothing. I've just studied the brain and how it works. And I've helped so many people move away from addictions. And one of them was like, he wanted to stop smoking. And I gave him a very simple step-by-step process. I'm like, tomorrow when you smoke, I want you to feel the feeling, right? How does it feel when you're smoking? Then after smoking, when that time comes, because it times and you're like, why am I doing this? Why should I stop? Feel the feeling. Allow yourself to experience the feeling. Now, tomorrow when the feeling comes back, don't focus on the good feeling. Focus on the bad feeling. That regret that you got immediately. Do you know what happens? You short circuit your brain. The neurons, because now they're looking for dopamine, the feel good. Now, what are you doing? You're bringing, it's like having a glass of water that is hot and pouring in cold water immediately. It becomes cold.
Okay.
And the same thing happens with the brains. Now, the challenge is that we are products of habits and we do not get back to stop, to evaluate, to feel the feeling. So that next time when something happens, I channel my thought to the negative feeling, and it takes, can I surprise you, less than 5 seconds to short circuit that. So as you're here feeling and you want to smoke and you meet somebody there and take you to a conversation and you start thinking about the negative, you won't continue to go and take that cigarette. And once you do it over and over again, the brain loses interest. And once it loses interest, you're rebooting yourself back.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So that's the essence of self-awareness. It's you being the gardener, knowing what to plant, what not to plant, the weeds to prune them and cut them, and being patient enough to know, even if it's a sunny day, we shall have the rains. Even if it's a rainy day, we shall have the sun. So everything working in accordance to how you want them to work, but based on how you understand them best. Yeah.
Now, I do also want to talk about some of the challenges in mental health access in Uganda. As somebody who works at an organization that focuses also on mental health, what are some of these challenges you've seen? Because you started us off early with the statistics. They look worrying.
Yes.
They're very
yes.
worrying, and you wonder, all these people, do they have access to help?
Now that is the best question. Think about it. They said 14 million Ugandans. I was not counted, you are not counted. And from just an idea, we think we are more than 14 million. The first thing is self-awareness. We do not know, right? But we do not know because we have not seen avenues to make us know. I'll give you a very alarming statistic. We are 43 million Ugandans, right? Today, according to the other population census that was carried out. But out of the 43 million Ugandans, can you guess how many psychologists and psychotherapists we have in Uganda?
I can only imagine.
50.
50?
50. That is 0.00005. And these 50 are in urban places.
And they're supposed to cater to the entire country.
Absolutely. Now you see the first challenge. That's the first challenge. The second challenge, now we do not know, we don't have professionals to help us. The third is location. Where are they located? In urban areas. When in urban areas, still the costs are a little bit expensive.
Yes.
Right? And what has pushed us more back is the stigmatization. How will they see me moving? For example, how do they call mental disorders in your local language? A person who's battling.
They normally tend to say that the person is mad.
You see?
The person is oyomulalu.
Oyomulalu. But do you think that's what it means?
No.
If you tell your friends, I've gone to Butabika, what will they think?
My goodness. You see, that's the thing.
Stigmatization.
They offer so many services, but I think when they see you walk through those gates, they're like, this one is a mad person as well.
Even the name itself hinders us from seeking medical help. Yeah, tabuse. How are they going to perceive me? How are they going to look at me? What are my friends going to think about me? And yet we know there are so many mental disorders. We talked about the small screen syndrome. It's an addiction, right? And everybody, I think all of us are suspects. But you can't say Goyomulalu because of the small screen disorder. You can't. So the naming has created the distance, and the distance has affected us. So you come back from the statistics, the number of professionals, you go to the location, you go to the prices, you go to the stigmatization. All those are challenges.
It's terrible. But as we wind up, what are some of the practical solutions to mental health?
So one thing for us to heal, we know, is to understand that having mental disorders is okay. It is okay not to feel okay. That's the first thing.
Okay.
You need to accept that, you know what, it is okay not to feel okay. It is inhuman, it's within us. We not every time we're going to be okay. The second, we need to have this awareness and sensitization. And the challenge is that we're living it in the urban areas. We're not going back. Many people say go to schools. No, let's go back to our families. A family is the smallest unit of a community. Can we have these mental talks within our own families? Then they'll do a ripple effect outside the communities. Then the government should also come in to support. I've told you 50 psychiatrists in Uganda, right? We need more. At least if we are, it should be a ratio of 1 to 5.
These are disappointing numbers.
Very disappointing, and that's why they're increasing. The third is we need to now focus on the creatives. Are they able to start bringing out this message in songs, in poetry, in music, in writing? Let it be everywhere, because mental health was not an African thing. For us, we only think we knew Mulalu, and that's it. That one does not, they will be mad for the rest of their lives. But now it has come. It's affecting our productivity. And we know that your mental health is your mental health. So it should be, the government should prioritize it. But to conclude on what we should do, I've heard so many people saying, if you get to know that you've tried the four, the others we talked about self-awareness, get to know each other, people telling you, seek medical help. Seeking medical help doesn't come just like that. It is a step-by-step process. And the first step, and this is the most important, if you're out there and you're listening, if there's anything to take from this discussion, take these 4 patterns. The first, acknowledge. Acknowledge that you're battling something. Now, when you acknowledge, takes us to the second, be willing to seek medical help. Either it's from a friend or it's from a family member, it's from a professional. Have the willing. And the third, now you acknowledge, you have the willing. When you get there, be willing to implement and open up to share your conversation. And once you open up, that means they're going to see where that is, and they're going to help you. And finally, be able to implement and fall forward. Once it fails, once 1, 2, 3 fails, go back to the first one and try to do it over and over again. The more you do it, the more you heal and the more you become better.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Gardner. It's been quite an enlightening conversation about mental health. For the benefit of our listeners, briefly, where can they find you in case they have more questions, they want some help? Where can they find you?
Yes, they can try to find us online as the first thing. It's Mind Heritage Limited, and location, we are located in Ntinda, Chigobe Road. Yes, and contacts, they can contact us at 0760 25 16 25. 0760 25 16 25.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us, friends. You see, there's help, and let's use some that is, of course, more accessible to us within here, and at least start the conversation. Start the conversation around mental health.